Yeah.
So you start singing, you know, country, and you know it's well publicized. You know, you win this contest and you perform with Shania Twain, and but then when you get to the time of making your first record, you're very adamant about it sounding like a rock record and having a band. And so where does the love of rock, like where do you go from, you know, the country and the pop land to the love of rock, the affinity for that sound?
So when I started singing, like, I don't know if I was like 5 or 7 or what, but like I went to church and every Sunday, and that's where I started singing. Is like my mom had like mentioned to the church like choir director like that I sing and she'd love to get me up on stage. So they like finally like years later, because they were like, she's too young, and then finally they allowed me to sing in the adult cantata, Christmas cantata, and I sang and everyone was like, oh my gosh, she can sing. So then they just like continued having me sing at like different Christmas concerts in the church. And so that's where like that started. Then that's where I really started, was in church. And then the next step for me was like performing at fairs and like banquets and whatnot around town. And it was like country fairs and stuff. And like I actually like country music. Like I'd come home and watch music videos after school. And that's like one of my favorite things to do. And I'd watch CMT, or I'd watch in Canada, it's called Much Music.
Of course.
And so I would like cover the Dixie Chicks, Faith Hill, Dina Carter. And then I do remember hitting a point, an age when I was around 15. And I was like, I just like don't want to sing like gospel music and country music. And I was like becoming a teenager and like growing into like who I was as a person, and I was getting like a little rebellious. I entered high school, I was wearing baggy clothes, I started like drinking beer and skateboarding, and I had a moment where I was like, these songs aren't cool, like I don't want to be singing these. And like I told my parents, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, like that. And that was like, that could have been like a gnarly moment where like I stopped. But what actually happened was that's when I grabbed the guitar and started to write my own songs without even really knowing what I was doing. Like I knew a G chord. My dad had a guitar laying around. And that's when I started writing the songs that are like my songs, my style. And when I got into high school, I was like into bands like Blink-182 and Green Day and NoFX. And like started skateboarding and hanging out with skaters and going to like cool like band high school band events with different bands playing. And that's when it all sort of changed. So when I went from like a young girl, 7, 8, 9, 10, into like turning to like 15, first year of high school.
But I think there's an even bigger story there, because so much of your legacy, right? Like take the hit records aside, is the icon that you were for so many young girls. And here you are as a young girl, a young woman singing, you know, Dixie Chicks and predominantly country songs, because you probably saw yourself in those people, because there weren't any sort of icons in the world of pop punk or rock music that you saw yourself in as a teenage girl. And so you almost had no choice but to sing those songs, because what else would you have sung? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, ironically enough, right, like 5 years later, you become that image, you become that idol, you become that icon for a generation of young women.
Yeah. And like I still love country music to this day. And yeah, but like when I like could finally like was old enough to like have a choice, like I was like loving rock and roll, but I'm just like a music lover and I love all different styles. And then I think once I, you know, got into high school, it was like, okay, yeah, like pop punk bands and like wearing my guitar like super low and like going to like the skate stores, and like now I can like go buy my own clothes and like going to like a West 49 and like getting the big fat skate shoes and like baggy pants. And I still have my West 49 hoodie that I wore in grade 9. I like last month found it in my closet.
So you're a very sentimental person, because you were telling me you have this like mirror from your parents' basement, and then you have this hoodie.
Yeah, I have 2 hoodies. I have a hoodie from high school that says skateboarding is not a crime, that I literally still have. and a
Dude,
West.
that would go for so much on the vintage market. I know what you're talking about. Like that line. Yeah, I think one sold for like $400 the other day. I'm like a big vintage geek, and it's pretty crazy.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it back. This album cycle in my wardrobe.
Dude.
Yeah.
You'll turn some heads.
Should it be in a music video, or should I wear it down a red carpet?
That'll be like I'm not kidding. Like in the streetwear,
or should I wear it on like a TV performance for like the single?
Yeah.
What do you pick?
I will. Let me think on that, and then by the end.
I could wear it with like a tutu or a skirt. Like that'd be so fun.